everyone, and welcome to another Tempo Strategy Wild Hearthstone video. If you've been climbing the Wild Legend ladder recently, you might have noticed a new face on ladder, or should we say, an old familiar face.
My greeting.
We've seen Druid combo decks cycle in and out of Wild throughout its history, and just when you think they've fallen off the map completely, a new one will always rise up to make its mark. That's right, we're talking about Linecracker Druid, the latest Druid combo deck that wins by stacking absurd amounts of armor and leaving the opponents to succumb to fatigue. Boring your opponent to death isn't new in Hearthstone, but aside from some unfortunate control warrior shenanigans, stacking armor and waiting for the opponent to die usually isn't a valid strategy in Wild. Not until recently, that is, when high legend players started experimenting with the Linecracker combo again, and they've managed to turn what was once a meme combo deck into a serious meta breaker. Linecracker Druid is now a solid choice for climbing the ladder, so let's take a closer look at how the deck works so you can try it on your next legend climb or be prepared to play against it. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Tempo Storm Strategy YouTube channel and to turn notifications on to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Now let's start with the basics of how the combo works and go from there. There are 4 key cards in the combo itself: Linecracker, Floop's Glorious Gloop, Bees, and Earthen Scales. And for the full combo, you'll need both copies each of Bees and Earthen Scales. To go off, first you play Linecracker, then Floop's Glorious Gloop, then Bees. When the Bees attack Linecracker during your turn, Linecracker's Overkill triggers and doubles Linecracker's attack for each Bee. 1 copy of Bees will increase Linecracker to 80 attack, and with the Gloop active, you gain 4 mana. Cast the second Bees on Linecracker again, and it grows to 1280 attack. At this point, cast both copies of Earthen Scales on the Linecracker, and you'll gain 2563 armor in one shot. With this much armor, you can't die to fatigue, and it's almost impossible for the opponent to kill you with minions, so most opponents will have no way to win and eventually fall to fatigue themselves. The combo requires 11 mana to start, so to set up, you'll either need to hold the coin or 1 copy of Biology Project to use after playing Linecracker on the combo turn, or you'll need to discount the mana costs of Linecracker, Gloop, or Bees with Emperor Tharazan. In the turns before you go off, you're in stall and draw mode. Hold off the opponent with the Oaken Summons into Archmage Varghulf combo, gain armor and draw cards with Ferocious Howl and Branching Paths, and remove the opponent's threats with Wrath, Lesser Jasper Spellstone, and Poison Seeds. The full combo gains more than 2500 armor, but low to the ground aggro decks sometimes won't give you enough time to assemble the entire combo. Against those decks, you'll want to take a different approach and shift the deck from a combo deck to a control deck. Instead of holding Earthen Scales and Bees as combo pieces, you'll use them as removal and armor gain to help manage the board and stay alive until the opponent's exhausted, then stonewall them behind Spreading Plague or Malfurion the Pestilent. With multiple ways to win, Linecracker Druid has tons of flexibility, which is the overall key to the deck's success. Whether you're trying to go full combo or shifting to control mode, the cards you'll keep in the mulligan are the same. The top priority cards to keep for every matchup are Oaken Summons and Fungal Fortunes. Against aggressive classes like Warrior and Demon Hunter, you'll also want to keep early removal as well, Wrath and Lesser Jasper Spellstone in particular. Keeping Biology Project is tempting, but you should really only do it if you already have Oaken Summons, since you can play Project on turn 1 into Oaken on turn 2. The same is true for Ferocious Howl, which is really only worth keeping if you already have the top priority keeps. Send everything else back. Since the deck's game plan shifts significantly depending on the opponent, you'll need to evaluate the matchup quickly in order to plan your plays in the early turns. Against slower decks like Reno Mage and Reno Priest, you'll want to focus on the deck's full combo plan A, so you're spending the early turns drawing cards, using Wrath, Ferocious Howl, Rising Winds, Branching Paths, and Fungal Fortunes. Fungal Fortunes in particular requires some special mention, since you can accidentally discard key minions like Linecracker and Archmage Varghulf. With this risk, is it worth it to play Fungal Fortunes early? It depends. If you have Oaken Summons, you'll want to hold Fungal Fortunes until after you've played Oaken first. If you don't have Oaken Summons, it can still be worth playing on turn 3 if you have the hand space, especially if you've already drawn Linecracker. If you haven't drawn Linecracker but you still need to play Fungal, the odds are in your favor. You only need 1 Linecracker for the combo, so if you discard 1, it's not the end of the world. If you have 18 or more cards left in the deck, the chances that you discard both copies of Linecracker from Fungal are less than 2%, so it's usually worth the risk. It's important to assemble the combo quickly against decks with OTK potential, and it's important to use the full combo with both copies of Bees against decks that can assemble exceptionally large boards. The full 2500 armor combo ensures you can outlast virtually any board long enough for your opponent to succumb to fatigue. Against aggro decks, on the other hand, you're shifting the control plan B, where your priority is minion removal and armor gain. Fortunately, cards like Oaken Summons and Spreading Plague give you an edge against most aggro decks, and you can sometimes use a partial Linecracker combo with only one copy of Bees to buy enough time to completely exhaust the opponent. At that point, you'll usually win by boosting a Spreading Plague board with the +1 attack mode of Branching Paths and alpha striking with your Scarabs. You can also attack the opponent down with Linecracker or Tharazan, and you can even attack your opponent turn after turn with Malfurion the Pestilence hero power if it comes down to it. Linecracker Druid is flexible enough to build a win condition against most matchups, but some of those matchups are easier than others. The full combo Plan A is very strong against slow decks like Reno Priest, Big Shaman, and Reno Quest Mage, where you can usually reach your combo before they can get to their win condition. Cube Warlock is also favorable, so long as you can keep Mulligans off the table once the game goes into fatigue. These decks can sometimes win by disrupting your combo with cards like Dirty Rat, Skulking Geist, or Ancestor's Call, but they have to reach those cards before you go off. Your control deck Plan B is also solid against decks like Pirate Warrior and Secret Mage, since survival alone is enough of a win condition, and in the case of mid-range aggro decks like Even Shaman and Odd Paladin, both Plan A and Plan B can be valid depending on your draw. On the other hand, there are a few matchups where neither plan is effective, and Linecracker Druid has no way to win. For instance, faster combo decks like Quest Mage and Togwaggle Druid are rough, since they can usually assemble their combos well before you assemble yours. In the case of Mechathune Warlock, their combo completely disregards your armor, so that matchup is usually an automatic loss, even if you can pull off your combo first. Speaking of automatic losses, Plate Breaker can break you no matter how much armor you gain, making it impossible to win against any deck that plays it. It's also impossible to win against any deck packing Jade Idol, Dead Man's Hand, or any infinite deck recursion combo, so games against them usually result in a draw when the game hits the turn limit on turn 45. The mirror match is also a stalemate, assuming both players play the full Linecracker combo. With so many unwinnable matchups, it may seem risky to queue with Linecracker Druid, but in reality, these matchups and tech cards are relatively rare in this aggressive meta. As long as aggro is king and wild, and as long as control decks are focused on beating aggro, Linecracker Druid will be a solid choice for climbing the ladder. Altogether, Linecracker Druid has evolved from being a meme deck to being a sleeper hit on ladder, so whether you're playing with the deck or you're playing against it, be sure to keep it on your radar. If you enjoyed this spotlight, let us know in the comments which decks you'd like us to feature next, and as always, be sure to subscribe to the Tempo Strategy YouTube channel and turn on notifications in order to stay current with our wild Hearthstone content. Thanks for watching!